Hey guys, and welcome back to the finance channel. My name is Daniel, and today we will be analyzing the RealReal stock, ticker symbol REAL. In this video, I'm going to go through the RealReal's business model, income statement, balance sheet, things along those lines, and make sure to stick around till the very end of the video where I give my buy targets for the stock, as well as a comparison with Revolve. I know a lot of people like to compare the two, so make sure to stick around till then. Now, a bit of background here. RealReal currently trading at around $13 a share at a market cap of around $1.15 billion. The stock IPO'd back in June of 2019 at around $20 a share. It shot up to around 25 to 30 bucks and has been in a downtrend ever since, trading at around $13 a share now. If you are new here, first of all, welcome to the community. Please hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos just like this one, and hit that like button as it really helps the channel out. If you have any questions, comments, or ticker symbols that you want me to look at, make sure to drop those down in the comments section below and I'll get back to you soon. In terms of the RealReal, they are one of the leading marketplaces for used goods, such as clothing, fine jewelry, watches, fine art, and home decor. This is essentially the leader in the space. Almost everyone that I've talked to knows what the RealReal is. And they have a very interesting process that they go through. They have around 200 to 300 authenticators, where you send a piece of used clothing to the RealReal, they authenticate it, they photograph it, they price it, they put it onto their site, and then it's sold that way. So essentially, the seller doesn't really have to do anything except send it to the RealReal. The RealReal takes care of the entire process. Now, they are expanding into more of a retail type store. You can see that by this picture here. They have around 5 stores all across the US as of right now. And I mean, this is just a great thing for them to continue expanding this online store. I personally know a lot of people that don't really want to buy used clothing because they think it's garbage, it's been used, it's been worn for many years. But when you think about it, like a lot of this stuff, even though it's used, you can't tell the difference between a used one and a new one. So by having these actual retail stores, a lot of these individuals that originally thought, you know what, I don't want used clothing because, I don't want used stuff. They can go to the RealReal, the retail location, and actually feel or actually see the articles of clothing or the home decor or the jewelry, things along those lines. And, maybe try it out. Maybe buy a shirt, buy a dress or something like that. And then, if they enjoy that, then they can go on to the online segment and, things go from there. Now, the CEO, Julie Wainwright, I think she's just incredible. She knows what she's doing, and I think she is the person that is going to, guide the RealReal and, help it expand into the future. She knows everything surrounding the industry, surrounding the business, and, she's the perfect person to be to guide this business into becoming a multi-billion-dollar business going forwards. Now, in terms of how the RealReal's process works, a seller has a product. They have a piece of clothing or they have some jewelry, things along those lines. What they do, they have many options here. They send it to the RealReal, but they can do that through many different ways. They can do that through direct shipment, business-to-business vendors, or they can do it in person by dropping it off to one of the retail locations, to one of the luxury consignment offices in home, or virtual consultations. Now, either way, this all goes to the RealReal facilities, which there's over 150 highly trained brand authenticators that really take a look at this clothing and can authenticate it. If it is determined that an article of clothing is fake, then that item is confiscated, or if it's kind of questionably fake, it's returned to the sender. But I mean, this really creates a lot of trust. Where if you're gonna buy an article of clothing, a used article of clothing, let's say a Louis Vuitton bag on eBay, you don't know if that thing's gonna be fake because it hasn't been authenticated. But through the RealReal, they actually authenticate the clothing to make sure that it is real, that you're really getting that Louis Vuitton bag or that Gucci bag or that Valentino bag that you wanted, that you're not getting a fake, you're actually getting that Louis Vuitton bag. And again, it creates a lot of trust within the community. And then obviously it either goes to online or in store where, individuals can buy that. And they have created a real nice community where a lot of the buyers actually turn to sellers and a lot of the sellers become buyers. So, there's a nice community here of people that actually, buy clothing and then sell clothing and then buy clothing. What makes the RealReal so great? Well, first of all, it's environmentally friendly. You're reusing clothing that normally would just go, into the trash. But, instead of, throwing that clothing out, there's people that are going to take that and continue wearing it. It's great for the seller because they're taking an item that, they normally not wear or normally, just throw it out, do nothing with it. They're selling it and they're actually, collecting money for it. And a good amount of money, actually, depending on what it is. In addition to that, once the seller sends their product to the RealReal, their job is done. The RealReal takes care of everything going forwards. They photograph it, they price it, they put it on the website. And it's on a website with millions of users. So, it gets sold relatively quickly. And it's just great how a seller doesn't have to go through that process of photographing, of pricing, of putting it on a website that people actually want to use. The RealReal takes care of that. It's great for the buyer because they get clothing at a cheaper price. They get clothing for 30, 40, 50% off the original price that essentially looks the same way. The clothing is also authenticated. It's great for the buyer because they know that they're getting real clothing. They're not getting, they're not getting fakes. They're getting real clothing. And this in general is just great for the RealReal. It creates trust, benefits the seller, benefits the buyer, benefits the environment. It's just a great overall business model. And RealReal is killing it right now. So when valuing a growth company like the RealReal, I like to look at the total addressable market, or the TAM. So let's do that right now. It's important to know that the RealReal takes a 40% commission. So from all clothing sold, they take a 40% commission, and that's essentially their revenue. So, every year, there's around $37 billion in annual new supply of US luxury goods for resale. Keep in mind, the RealReal did around $300 million in revenue last year. With a $37 billion market, if they can get only 10% of that, that means that there's $3.7 billion in annual new sales going from the RealReal every year, which is over a 10x from their current amount. And this is just the US. Let's think international. International, it's hundreds of billions. If they can expand to Asian countries, to European countries, things along those lines, this is just incredible how big their opportunity here is. And imagine they get 10% of that. That means there's billions, over $5 billion in annual sales, annual revenue rather, is possible for the RealReal if they execute and get just 10% market share, which I think they could. So, at this current revenue of $300 million, I think they could easily 10x this over the over the next 5+ years. So that's kind of the sense of how big this market is. And it's expanding. Luxury retail is shifting online. In 2014, it was 5%. In 2018, 10%. In 2019, 12%. And in 2025, it's expected to have 29% market share in the retail space. So, RealReal is poised to take advantage of this as they are the leaders in the online clothing, used clothing space. So, just a great play in the transition to e-commerce. Younger generations are driving growth. You can just kind of see here how Generation Y and Generation Z are becoming a bigger and bigger percentage of the RealReal's consumer. 39% in 2019, and it's going to be around 56% in 2025. And this is great because, you're growing with these individuals as they grow older, as they get, jobs, as they, go through life. They're going to have more and more money to spend on all of these different articles of clothing, and RealReal will benefit from that. Shifts in consumer mindset, focus on maximizing value for money with high quality products with utility. Not everyone is going to want to spend, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on a dress if they can get essentially the same article of clothing for 30, 40, 50% less, So here we have the RealReal's balance sheet, and I'm just going to say this is immaculate. I haven't seen a balance sheet like this in a while. $343 million in cash and cash equivalents. Keep in mind, this is a $1.1 billion market cap company, and they've got $343 million in cash and cash equivalents. Factoring all current assets, it's sitting at $437 million that they can access almost right away. That's, over 33% of the company's market cap. in capital that they can access, pretty much whenever they want. In terms of total assets, it's sitting at around $616 million. Total current liabilities set at around $120 million. So, they could pay off all of their current liabilities and still have well over $300 million sitting in the bank that they can access whenever they want. So, this is a company sitting in a great position financially. The CEO said they have enough capital as of right now to make their way to profitability. So no dilution is needed in terms of shares. So, that's what you'd like to see in terms of a company like the RealReal. Now, in terms of revenue growth, this is a revenue growth beast. I'm going to tell you that. In 2017, they had $137 million in revenue. In 2018, that grew to $207 million. In 2019, that grew to $318 million. And of course, with the pandemic this year, in my opinion, they have handled this very well. They're expected to kind of break even in terms of their revenue. So they're expected to grow around 0% this year in terms of their revenue, which is, in my opinion, very impressive. Just like thinking about it, we're in the middle of a pandemic. No one's buying clothes right now because everyone's inside. The fact that they're just going to maintain what they did last year, this year, that's just incredible. So it is important to note that the RealReal is losing money as of right now. A lot of this is due to that real strong revenue growth that we are seeing on the top line. And in my opinion, this is going to start shrinking over the next few years as they near towards profitability. And a lot of this, again, is due to that strong revenue growth. They're expected to stay break even in terms of top line this year. But next year, look at that, 36% revenue growth. And I think that's going to be closer to 40%. In my opinion, we're going to see a boom in terms of clothing sales, in terms of travel, things along those lines over the next 2 years after vaccines start coming out. And I think next year is just going to be an incredible year for the RealReal. And in my opinion, it's going to be closer to 40%. This is a company that, in my opinion, is going to be growing revenues 30% plus for the next 3 to 5 years, if not high 20% range. And look at that shrinking EPS loss. Last year they lost $1.81 in earnings per share. This year it's expected to be a loss of around $1.63. And next year it's supposed to be around $1.30. So, that's shrinking by a growing margin. In my opinion, over the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see the RealReal become a profit machine like we've never seen before. And again, in my opinion, this is worth it because they're really investing that money for that revenue growth, which, as of right now, as a smaller company, it's really important to capture as much market share as possible. And, they're doing all the right things. In terms of the RealReal's valuation, I think this is a pretty good deal. The stock IPO'd at around, $20, shot to around $35. And now it's trading at $13. So we're getting a pretty good discount in terms of where the stock was. It's at a price to sales of around 3.75. Gross margin is around, 50-60%. And, in my opinion, as they continue to grow their revenues, they will eventually become a very, very profitable company. And, I kind of like where it's at. And in terms of my buy targets, I think the stock shows value under $13. But it would really be great to see it under $11.50 because that means the market cap would be under $1 billion, which is kind of what I want to see with the RealReal. But then again, I don't think it's worth it waiting for that because, what if it never reaches that? It's already, it's at around $13 a share right now. So, in my opinion, this is showing some good value. Now, in terms of a comparison between Revolve and the RealReal, I know they're kind of similar in their spaces. Revolve sends high-end luxury clothing, while the RealReal sells kind of higher-end used clothing. So they're in kind of different categories, but in that same retail fashion market. They both have very strong brand recognition. Everyone knows what the Revolve is in terms of millennials, and almost everyone knows what the RealReal is, They have a very loyal customer base. A lot of these people on the RealReal are buying things and, they're selling things on there. And in terms of Revolve, it's the exact same thing. They both have very strong balance sheets. So, as far as balance sheets go, these are some of the best, best balance sheets I've ever seen in companies other than, some of the Facebooks or Googles out there. But, very strong company balance sheets, which really minimizes a lot of that risk. They both have lots of growth ahead. These are companies both growing double-digit revenue growth. They're having double-digit revenue growth. Revolve growing over 20%, RealReal growing above 30%, pretty much near 40%. They have great management teams. The CEO of RealReal, just incredible what she's doing in terms of Revolve. They know what's up over there. And they're both disrupting very large industries that are ripe for disruption. As e-commerce continues to grow, these are going to be the two companies that benefit from it the most. Now, in terms of which one I like the most, it's really difficult to pick one. You could say Revolve is profitable and that the RealReal is losing money. But you also have to think about the fact that Revolve only has 20% revenue growth compared to the RealReal, which has around 30 to 40% revenue growth. So, while the Revolve might look a little more attractive in terms of valuation, the RealReal has that more explosive growth. Now, in terms of which one I like better, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I like both. I like the RealReal because it's a great diversification into the used clothing market, while the Revolve is into that, the new clothing market. And both of them are e-commerce, which is going to benefit huge over the coming years. So, I like both. Please let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Let's have a conversation. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a great day.